Well, hello, everybody. Hope you're all having a good afternoon. It's been a busy day for everybody, I'm sure. Lots of stuff going on in Washington. Got a new president. Um, Boy, wasn't that a lot to look at. Anyway, I hope you all are having a fantastic day. I appreciate you all uh, tuning in, seeing what we're talking about. 365 revolutions, trying every day to come on live and give you guys a plan for the future. Um, just remember, I'm here to pray for you. And if you ever want to drop in something in the chat or send me an email, be more than happy to stop what I'm doing and pray with you. That being said, I thought we'd step off the American wellness system for a few days. We've got a lot more to talk about. We have education, housing, justice, coming up, as well as voting. I think that these healthcare, education, housing, voting, and justice are all very important. And I think those are the five pillars of what we can, those are the five pillars of society that we can come up with new ideas in order to beat manufactured suffering. Just don't forget, it's a systemic creation and perpetuation of unnecessary hardship and inequality, orchestrated as an expression of power and control over the masses by those in authority. So, in a nutshell, all the crap that we have to deal with in our lives, from all the systems that we encounter, are on purpose, done so that those in power can stay that way. Just I always like to remind you, there's on my Substack page, all the links are down below. Um, I personally don't believe that our neighbors are those that we need to fight against, but they are more the mid-level managers working for a force beyond humanity that uses our suffering as some form of currency. And the idea of coming up with a new plan for our future is so that we can battle that force, whether you want to call it mammon, aliens, the devil. I just don't believe that individual human beings are the ones that have been able to and are able to create, that keep our species um, in a perpetual state of suffering. I just don't think that any one group of people is that powerful. And I really think that they are all working for something else outside of humanity. So that being said, we've spent about a week talking about what we can do to fix healthcare. All of those plans are and the essay, Manufactured Suffering, The Reason We Can't Have Peace. It's free to look at on my Substack page, and I hope you'll check that out. And we're going to circle back around to that after we spend time talking about education, then housing, then justice, and then voting. Um, I always like to, you know, as a parable, to ask the question, why does an orange cost more than a candy bar? Because the orange is good for us, candy bar isn't, and therefore they're going to price the orange more expensive than the candy bar so that we eat the candy bar, get sick, then they can charge us money at the back end through healthcare to make even more profit from us. So manufactured suffering is profit extraction, and peace is the creation of value. And so I think if we can look at things in that simple manner, that might help us kind of understand what's really going on in our society. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here real quick. And the I call it a Comprehensive Educational Reform and Empowerment Act. It's a very broad and detailed plan on what we can do to completely revolutionize our education system. Um, this comes right from my essay, in which I've written. So, I don't really want to read off of it because that's silly. I'd rather you go and read yourself um, off of my Substack page. But that being said, um, education, education, education. It is the one thing that I believe sets the stage for all the future of humanity. And as American citizens living in a, democratic republic, hopefully more of a direct democracy in the future, um, the idea of a public education system is dangerous and beautiful. It can, as it is now, failing our citizens and creating a pipeline from birth to jail for a lot of low income minority students, um, a lot of poor students, single family, single parent families. Um, it teaches children in very low income situations how to act when they get to prison. And I know that that's kind of like a hot take, but it's really, go to this class, go to that class, here's your tray at lunch, get your free meal, sit down, shut up, don't ask questions, get through the day, and you're out the door. And it doesn't want to spark any kind of conversation or creative dialogue with students. It doesn't want to create creative thinkers. It's just I call it a misery factory, and um, I would like for us as a society to work on changing that, and it's going to, because let's remember that we're going to be moving into the 22nd century not too far from now. And the fact that we're still teaching kids on a schedule based around an agrarian calendar, gets hot in the summer, kids got to go, used to have to go work on the farm. And, there, a lot of people don't realize this, but the educational schedule was based around, the reason they had to shut school down in the summer is because the school was created before air conditioning and the buildings were too hot to have the kids in all day, et cetera, et cetera. And then the kids had to go, work on the farm and go. And so anyway, we're going to unpack all the things that we can do to make education completely different than it is today. The education delivery system. And the one of the things I've always talked about and that we're going to continue to talk about is using the example of a candy bar and an orange. And the candy bar is supposed to represent the bad side of things, and the orange is supposed to represent the good side of things. And when we compare the practices of what is offered to people, when you look at education, yeah, I am going to read this part, is that manufactured suffering within the education sector is acutely manifested through practices and that, sorry, I have a hard time pronouncing that word, choosing the candy bar, short-term, profit-driven decisions that starkly compromise the equitable access to a quality education. And so the idea that they're going to that we've created a system that is presented to the masses at low cost is poisoning those students. It champions cost cutting and operational efficiency at the expense of fostering comprehensive learning environments. And it's designed that way on purpose so that low income minority children are given the shaft. And we can do much better than we are currently doing. Characteristically, the candy bar education, accessible to individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, is marked by a limited approach focusing on rote memorization, standardized assessments, and the and calculation of specific skill sets perceived as vital for economic advancement. This paradigm, meticulously orchestrated by societal constructs, restricts students' exposure to the arts, creative exploration, and critical analytical thinking. Consequently, the educational system morphs into a factory of conformity, churning out individuals primed to assimilate into predefined societal niches rather than empowering them to question, innovate, and redefine their roles within the community. So, the idea is that society is going to create a bunch of robots that don't question anything, are told what to do, are submissive, and we don't want that. We want 350 million creative thinkers that are empowered to live a life worth living. Um, so I really don't want to just read all of this because one I can get AI to read it and it'll come out much better than my my speech impediment will allow. But um, I'm just going to skip past that, and I'll probably do a pre-made video or recorded video and make it a little bit more interesting than me just sitting here reading off a screen for you, because that's a silly way to approach this. But one of the things that I did want to talk about and hopefully get your feedback on is that what we want to do is that we want to give students more than a wrapper, the candy bar education um, upon graduation. And the wrapper really is just a worthless diploma that's not, that's, at best biodegradable. Um, One of the things that I would like to start the conversation off with today, and this one's probably going to be a little shorter live stream just because it's a little later in the day, and I want to keep these more short than I have been. But let's start with this one idea. What if instead of schools going public education like your diploma, what if instead of it going from, pardon me, pre-K to 12, that we adjust the school curriculum so that it goes from pre-K to 14. So you'd be going to school from, let's say, age 4, which would be pre-K. Most kids graduate around 17 or 18, depending on when they start the school year. 2, they would graduate around the age of 20. And the idea behind this is that We want to change it so that when you graduate from public education, you don't graduate with a diploma, you graduate with a degree. And for there to not be a separation between college and high school. And what that's going to allow, hopefully, is that we can design the educational curriculum backwards. Right? A lot of times you want to have a vision of where you want to go and figure out how to get there. And so the idea would be that if kids aren't graduating from public institutions until they were 20 with a diploma, then that would mean that at the very least there's no student debt and that the curriculum has been designed in such a way that we can front load the requirements for these degrees much earlier than is currently accessible. So, one of the things that I've worked out here is that in order to do this, we're going to have to adjust the administrative aspects of public school. And one of the things that I'd like to bring up is that we can, because I'm a big proponent of AI, I think that we can really use it to um, enhance what we have already created and using AI as to provide personalized guidance counseling services so that um, they can map out all of the different subjects that need to be undertaken in order to get a degree. Um, they can balance strengths and weaknesses, interests, and even market trends um, to assist the student to get to that degree. Automated scheduling systems. It can work out what classes are at what time of the day. A lot of times, one of the things that I know that I encountered, well, we'll get to the scheduling thing a little bit later. Let me finish this part here. So, it would enhance administrative efficiency. It allows a collaboration with industry and higher education, personalized learning pathways. It can stimulate curiosity and bridge interests. It'll allow for age flex learning, um, redefine teacher and administrative roles. Um, so AI is going to be able to do a lot when we apply AI to the administrative side of education. Um, and part of the extending the school year that I think is a really interesting idea is that if we were able to extend the school cycle from a 5-day Monday through Friday cycle to a 7-day week cycle. So that basically school would be open 7 days a week. Now, I just want to be really clear about something that doesn't mean the student is going to school 7 days a week. That would be not very good because everybody needs rest, and that's not what I'm saying about schools being open 7 days a week. It's like think about it like a hotel. A hotel is open 7 days a week. Doesn't mean that all the employees work 7 days a week. It doesn't mean that you have to go to a hotel 7 days a week. It's open for just like a hospital. It's school. The building is still there. The building doesn't go anywhere. And so why have a building not functions 7 days a week. And one of the things that's important about the school being open 7 days a week is that would really benefit a lot of low income parents that perhaps work on Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so now they have to figure out what to do with their kids when they're at work and school's closed. So if school was open on Saturday and Sunday, and mom and dad had to work on the weekends, their kids could go to school while they're at work. And if the parents are off on Tuesday and Thursdays, the kids can be off with them on Tuesday and Thursday. As long as the child was meeting the minimum amount of hours per week that they need to be in school, then everything's gravy. And here, people one of the questions that we're going to talk about and answer is, well, how are you going to staff on the weekend? Well, just like the idea that students, the family life, they might work on, the parents might work on the weekend. There are teachers that are married to doctors and police officers and waiters and people that work on the weekend. So perhaps it would benefit some teachers to be able to be off during the week and work on the weekend. It's that famous line from Downton Abbey, what's a weekend? And if we were to view education as a 24/7 day possibility, then that would really help, I think, nurture not only family life, but the children's learning availabilities, which is why we would use AI for aid flex learning, for personalized learning pathways, um, and it would allow automated scheduling systems. So the child with the parent can work out through an app on their phone or on their PC or at the library. When does mom work? When does dad work? When can I be off? And all that gets put into the AI system, and then the AI would be able to, just like like a lot of these automate, like Uber or Lyft, how they can flex drivers, and it's. I think it would be very doable for us to use AI to be able to schedule students with teachers and buildings. And even in buses, I know a lot of students rely on buses to get to school. So that's even something that can be tied into the whole thing. So using AI to help with the administrative side of schools being open 7 days a week is definitely a possibility. And it's something I think that we can really look at. So just remember, one of the things that we're going to talk with, that we've started the conversation off with, is that not only are we going to extend the school program from pre-K to 14, which is age 4 to 20, we're going to change it so that students graduate with a diploma instead of a degree, or a degree instead of a diploma. And we're going to change it so that schools are open 7 days a week. Now, just those two major transitions, I think, could revolutionize education in America. I think it would be good for families, especially low income families that work a lot and that don't work a traditional 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job. Um, I, I think it would be good all the way around. Um, I think AI is really going to be able to help us create a wonderful new education system. And with us allowing flexibility in the time of, including time of day students go to school. Um, I was trying to mention this earlier, is that, a lot of times I think school is starts way too early for a lot of students. There's been a lot of um, research done into the rhythm of of students' biology, of children's biology, about when they want to wake up during the day and when they want to go to sleep at night. And, it's not just a lifestyle choice that students from the age of like 13 to 18 want to stay up late and sleep in. It's part of their evolutionary circadian rhythm, but that's just what their body wants them to do. And we force these students to go to class at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and they're not tuned in. And depending on the type of classes that they're taking at those hours, they can miss out on a great deal. So part of the whole flex learning opportunity that AI scheduling and can bring to the table is perhaps certain age groups starting the school day at different times. That might really revolutionize the test results, test learning. Um, eh, so, I mean, that's a possibility. Um, Part of the radical idea of treating schools like a 7-day week opportunity. Also, we can extrapolate that to a 12-hour day campus. I mean, I know this is a big leap to think that schools could be open 24 hours a day, but maybe one day in the distant future that's a possibility. You know, I know that if we were to think about public schools being boarding schools, and please, this is not a communist country. I'm not trying to take away students from their parents. I'm not trying to do any of that. But the building is there, and there are a lot of students that, you know, it would just be it would be a fascinating mental exercise to think of public schools as some offering like boarding school opportunities. Um, there are a lot of kids from low income, unsafe neighborhoods where mom and dad are, snorting coke in the living room and yelling at each other, and their only alternative is to go play video games till 4 in the morning and put their headsets on, and so they don't hear all the craziness going on in the living room. And there are a lot of students that are raised in that environment that don't that have all their opportunities completely taken away from them. And one of those kids has the cure for cancer. One of those kids is the next Martin Luther King. One of those kids is the next astronaut. And it's my personal belief that God is going to put all of the secrets, all of the keys to humanity's success in the least among us. And the more the system can keep the least among us wasted, what trash on the ground, then the more manufactured suffering can continue to operate. And we want to just really think outside the box and what can we do? How can we get to Star Trek? How can we get to the promised land? How can we get to 350, 400 million free thinking Americans that are taught how to create, how to own a business, how to come up with ideas, how to implement them, how to be great artists and musicians. It's all a possibility. We just have to be willing to dream big and give the students the opportunity to learn. And so, just to close this up for today, just remember the two big ideas that I'd like to focus on in the next couple days is changing the school year from pre-K to 14 and changing the school schedule to a 7-day opportunity. Again, it doesn't mean students are going to school 7 days a week. That's not what that means. It means that there would be the opportunity for some students, if they wanted to keep the family together because mom and dad work on the weekends, that it would allow the kids to go to school on the weekend and be off during the week when their parents are home. And maybe there are students that, come crunch time, come midterms, could go to, or they would want to go to school an extra day a week at certain times of the year to double down on, book reports and working in teams and getting tutored and, so, I mean, these are just wild ideas that I hope that we can discuss about, like what we can really do, what's possible. The building's there. There could be teachers that want to teach on the weekend and not during the week. So, anyway, I hope that this has sparked some ideas for you, and you'll put some ideas down in the comments down below. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, crazy, whatever. No eyeballs on the live stream yet, so that's always that's kind of always a challenge for me coming on here, and because I don't want to just turn this into like a reading exercise, especially with my speech impediment and screwing up words that I shouldn't be screwing up. But um, I'm going to hopefully in the short term transition to some pre-recorded videos and some shorts, and we can get those out and kind of get a dialogue going. But there's a lot more to discuss about this. These are just scratching the surface. Um, as I was talking about the American wellness system, about how we can design an educational system for doctors, for healthcare providers, that's coming. And so the idea that, imagine like we were just talking about, that the school year went from pre-K to 14, so you're graduating with a degree. That imagine that if we knew a kid wanted to say that in junior high, I'd like to be a doctor, I'd like to try to learn some stuff about this field. Imagine the kind of courses and networks that could be created at that age as opposed to waiting until you're in pre-med in college. And as we all know, a lot of kids from low income environments, by the time they get to college and or community college, they're still learning stuff they should have learned in high school, and a lot of it is remedial, and then they're having to get student loans and to learn remedial stuff which should have been taught to them for free in public school. So there's ideas coming about, like, getting paying the students upon graduation. It's when you talk about the orange and the candy bar, right? The candy bar is that in order for kids to get a higher education, we expect for them to pay. Now, that's the candy bar aspect of manufactured suffering applied to education. The orange is that we would pay students to graduate. And we talk about seed money. And then, a robust home economic program that's taught from pre-K, of course, it's all age appropriate. But if students knew that they were going to get 55, 60, $75,000 when they turned 20 and they graduated with a degree, I mean, imagine what we could offer students. I mean, kids would want to learn. Could learn about the stock market. They could learn how to invest. They could learn how to open a business. Students could learn how to pool their money. I mean, you get 10 kids. I mean, even if it was $50,000 graduation check after taxes, etc., you could get 10 students together. It's $500,000. And that seed money for those 10 kids to open up a business. If $50,000 might allow a student from like a really horrible home environment to be able to get out and to buy a house. It's a down payment on a house for somebody. But we're going to talk about housing and what we can do for that in the future. So all of this is supposed to work together. The American wellness system, the Education Empowerment Act, the Justice Act, the Voting Act, um, and it's 365 revolutions, and hopefully by the time at the end of this year, beginning of next year, that we'll be able to discuss this huge, comprehensive idea, and we can look at it as a platform on what we can do to change our country for the better and to really revitalize value over profit. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that you'll check out my essay, Manufactured Suffering, The Reason We Can't Have Peace on Substack. Please leave a chat, like, and subscribe. If you'd like to, I have a Patreon page. Buy me a cup of coffee. Um, and, thank you so much. Just know that I love you. God loves you. We're both rooting for you. Um, let's love our neighbor, love God like our neighbors, love our neighbor like God, and let's let's work on a plan for our future because the baby boomer generation, they're getting off the stage here real soon, and they've left us a mess. $38 trillion debt, and we're going to have to figure this out somehow. And so this is just a nobody from nowhere high school education from 1987. Done a lot of reading, tried to put some ideas to paper. And if I can do this, why hasn't anybody else presented these kind of ideas to you? Um, nobody, I mean, as a side note, before I hop off here, why don't politicians, before they get elected, have conversations like this with you, with me, about policy and procedures and what they're going to do? Instead of just pie in the sky, oh, yeah, working class. I mean, anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful evening. If you ever need me to pray for you, drop me an email, hop on the live chat. Know that I love you, God loves you, we're rooting for you, and we can really make a difference if we all come together as loving neighbors and create a plan for us, our children, and our grandchildren. This has been David Peppers from Brandon, son of Joe and Mary Ann. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow. Peace.
I love the Lord. I love the Lord. He's my friend beyond the end. I love the Lord. He's my friend.